Good evening. This is a Newport Planning Board meeting for April 12th, 2022. And we'll start by attendance for Herb Keller.
Sean Glasgow.
Tobin Menard.
Ken Merrill, acting chair. Okay. Agenda, any update changes? Are we good?
Nope,
For agenda?
everything's good. No continued business.
New business. We have 2022-Annex-003, Bonnie Beauchene, owner, Clayton Platt, agent. Clayton, are you presenting or is Steve or both?
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Up, sure.
Actually, let's do this first. While you're setting up, we can get,
Move to accept this complete.
we have moved to accept this complete from Herb.
Second.
We have a second from Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None? Unanimous? Now we'll turn it over to Clayton.
All right. It's kind of a simple annexation. Bonnie owns about 4.75 acres, some woodland and field behind her house. She owns the Blueberry Farm at the corner of Baskin Road. And I guess people who wants to buy 3.65 acres from Bonnie and kind of enlarge the Blueberry Farm. Existing buildings on both houses, usually open all the shed garage in the road. This 1 acre lot is actually something that used to exist in the 1970s, it was like 200 by 200. So there'll be no new lots of record. There'll be no new uses or anything, it's just going to be the Blueberry Farm expanding out back. There is so it's kind of a paper street that goes to lot 3 and lot 4 and back that was done in
82, I think.
1982, approved by the town and stuff. It's not developed. There's like a little Jeep trail through the field that they used to get back there.
So that
But that'll remain the same. Nothing will change with that.
That will remain the
Remain
same.
the same, yeah. Just to keep along both sides of it instead of
Okay.
Bonnie on that one track. Yeah, any questions I can answer?
Okay.
You guys zoning and
Any questions from the board? Anything from?
No, they comply with all
Okay.
size and frontage. There's, yeah, it's 2 lots staying, 2 lots, which we have to decide when you guys finally figure out how the verbiage you want to use. I'm going to continue with annexation.
Right.
Plus, a lot of the surveyors are using that terminology, so
Right. Well, and the key piece is this does have the boundary survey with it.
that's true.
So-
Everything, that's
Right.
true, instead of where typically can be less, absolutely.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions.
Is there a motion?
I'll motion that we accept it.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And unanimous. Okay. So we can sign.
Oh, I do have the Mylar. Would you like to take the Mylar tonight?
Sure.
Herb, I believe there's a pen in your drawer. If it doesn't work, I can, and there's a tiny one too, isn't there? Well, the big one, maybe it's this drawer. I thought,
There's gonna be a lot of people jealous of this.
What?
those,
It went so
some of them have a chart on it,
Yeah,
and your tip and you think, that seems not bad. It's not bad. Oh yeah, and sign the paper one too, sign that
How
one.
many do you need?
I usually keep one, although I don't worry about the signatures as much. Assessing wants the signatures, but then the registry of deeds has the same, I'm kind of like, how many signatures do we need? It's all computerized. But 3 is nice to have. So you know what, I'll take this one out of the way, and then we'll pass that one and those two. And you don't have to sign, or you did sign out. Oh, you're signing more, that's all
Just collect
right.
these.
That works, yeah. Do you want one of these? I gave us-
I have 3 of them, but I'll.
Yeah, you know, because I've got, usually people don't give us enough, you guys kind of.
Did you?
Okay, this one has the 4, right, or her?
Herb needs to sign.
I'll give her one. Oh, you did.
We didn't have to do great.
Really? Take them fly
Great for autographs.
I know, huh?
You be a land baron up there now? or what?
10-acre land beer. No, I want to expand into strawberries, garlic.
Excellent.
You want this folder?
What about like goat cheese? We could use some fresh goat cheese.
I don't, goats and blueberry bushes, none.
They don't go together, okay, shoot. Okay, I just thought I threw it out.
Goat on the spigot going around and around.
You're right, that wouldn't mesh. Okay, well, bad idea on my part.
The goats wouldn't complain at all.
No, they won't.
You guys are all set, unless you want to stay.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving along, we'll go to meeting minutes, March 22nd. Is there any amendments to make? Are there any? Anybody have any amendments?
No, I read through them.
Okay.
That's it.
We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I do have a question. Under the March 22nd minutes, there's a part under 2022 SPFP where you struck through the wording on that.
And that was how it was originally, written as to increase the size of the current facility. And then if you read down, it states there is no facility there.
Right.
And so I replaced it for change of use to storage facility, as it is stated in the minutes. Does that make sense? So I corrected the little header there, because it's not a increase of the use. It's a change of use to a storage
Weren't they
facility.
going to a combination use?
I'm sorry?
They still had the car lot there, and they were gonna add the storage, so they were gonna have a dual use on that property. They weren't separating the property.
Correct.
The only thing that I was thinking is because I don't know that we officially changed that during the meeting, so I don't know if years from now someone will look at that and say, well, they were very concerned about the wording of that, so maybe it needed to be. But you did just strike it through and leave it, so I guess it's fine.
Well, but it matches the paragraph, the last paragraph,
Yeah.
so I would say at least it's consistent.
Who is it? Okay, David Burnham said it would, let's see, David is the one that said, he read it aloud, okay? And then he said there was not currently a storage facility at the location. Was it Miss Donovan? Yeah, Miss Donovan that agreed that the wording was incorrect. It was a change of use.
Right. Yeah, and I was concerned at the time that if it was written differently, then maybe one or two of the abutters would notice and want to come to the meeting.
You had brought that up later on in the meeting, so how would you like it to be changed, Sean?
I would just suggest that we leave it as it was to begin with, and we leave in the minutes that there was some question about it.
Okay.
And that we approve the minutes as,
Is there a
with that
minutes?
one change.
No, I know. Oh, absolutely. I'm not gonna.
So therefore, do you want to make a motion to have it reflect the original?
Yes.
So let's go with that. So Sean wants to make a motion to eliminate this strikeout and have it read as originally stated.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Herb seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so that will remain in.
So it's remaining incorrectly, correct?
Well, we went forward with it the way
Right.
it was, so.
Well, typically that's considered like administrative or, slightly not necessary deceiving and for,
I don't think anyone
it
was
was,
trying to be
yeah, it
deceiving.
wasn't anything that really, but it should be left in that I wrote it incorrectly.
Right, well,
Yes.
that will
Yes,
stay in
perfect.
Oh, yeah.
down below.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we don't want to change if we did anything wrong, but in the end, it wouldn't, it's not right. They all knew right. And I didn't think, if I thought I wrote it so poorly that it was ununderstandable, then I think we would have had to postpone it, but I don't think that was the case.
Okay, so given that, let's go back to the original motion and second that are on the table. You want to amend that to saying, accept these minutes as corrected?
Yes.
Okay, will that second stand then?
It will stand.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? So the minutes are March 22nd are accepted. We'll go to March 29.
Make a motion to approve the March 29 minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. So we have 3-1, so we're good.
No, we have to have 4.
Do we have to have 4?
No?
No, you just have to
We have
have,
to have 4 to have a meeting.
yes.
But then-
And then you have to have the majority of the vote to have it pass.
Sorry, I was-
That's all right. It's easy to do.
I wasn't here, so.
Oh, that's right, John was here. We've had this before, doesn't mean you can't vote on minutes.
No, but I didn't get a chance to review them.
Either.
I didn't watch the meeting. I did see part of
I
it.
categorically deny.
You checked out, he checked out.
Okay. Administration, Christina.
So I looked, well, actually, before I get to decamp,
Yeah.
which is what you guys asked about. Decamp trucking, 868 John Stark Highway. Remember, it was that white structure,
Yeah.
that large white structure. But prior to getting to that, right after decamp, where the storage facility is, 880, has anyone noticed that that place is lit up like a Christmas tree?
I brought it up at the last meeting.
You brought up the floor,
No, well, the
the
flurry.
flurry, I know, it's not flurries, it's not flurries.
Right, it's
It's not flurries.
Carvana
Carvana, you brought that up at the last meeting.
as an observation.
How
You're
did I
gonna
miss
look at
that?
it.
There were unshielded LEDs or something.
They're-
Right,
It's
because
cool.
we talked about when you drive up, depending on what side you're on, you actually look up at them so you see it, but they are very, very bright.
So you didn't bring it up on the night of the presentation for the storage facility, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
I think you said you were gonna look at it, but you're never there at night, so.
Yeah.
Oh my God, okay, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, okay, well, I went and looked at it,
Yeah.
and I have spoken with Carvana many, many times. I've talked about, because they wanted to make sure they permitted correctly. You know, they don't even want a sign. They're not changing anything inside. It's gonna be administrative offices. They're, you know, just the parking lot, just parking cars. Well, they did permit, which I looked into it because of this lighting. It's shocking. They did permit for trenching of the wires, which I remember actually even having them inspected everything. Just the trenching and the wiring. They never permitted for the lighting. And just even those structures, much less that lighting probably should have been seen by you guys, or at least followed code. So I apologize, I must have missed that, because this lot is confusing, but that is so ridiculously bright, I've never even seen anything.
And
How many-
they may be following code, but because they're on the hill.
Well, they didn't permit for it,
Yeah.
so they're not, they
Well,
never,
that's your issue.
yes.
Right.
So I just want to let you know I'm following through on this,
Okay.
and I don't believe it meets any, they have to get, I don't believe it meets lighting code for light mitigation on the site.
Well, they should have to do a
That's
photometrics plan.
plan, okay.
Where it can't, you know, that lighting can't leave their lot,
Right,
and it has to be sharp cutoff.
yeah, they're angled, I think,
They're up a little bit.
if they even just did that, they would still light that place, like you,
They would, but I think they would be more
Still-
compliant flat.
oh, absolutely. They need to make it flat.
Right.
And it would still make that thing as bright as could be.
Yeah.
But I'll then do the photometrics.
But I know it was something we hadn't seen.
No, and I knew they were doing the trenching, but when someone comes and, it was like last summer, and it was just for the wiring, and especially with stuff like that, you then usually see another permit come in. Because I remember inspecting just the trenches because they wanted to cover it over.
Well, yeah, they did pave.
They did pave
But
too,
that's-
which they didn't say they were gonna
It's
do
not
that.
typically a,
They didn't say they were gonna do that either.
yeah.
I know, that's,
but the lighting, I mean, because we
Lighting
focus
is-
on that.
and it's worth so much money, like, they need to permit for that. So anyways, I just wanted to tell you, but you guys already all knew about it, oh my,
Should've been
thank
in
God.
minutes, right?
Okay, so,
Maybe you can go back and join us for that meeting.
I know, thank you, thank you. Was I injured? No, I won't even make up excuses. I won't even make up excuses. Okay.
I believe I brought it up informally, but.
No, I probably just missed it. Okay, so this is the structure that was put in place, and I could make copies, at 868 John Stark Highway, which,
I think it was an informal, it really wasn't part of what they were here for.
Correct. But
no, but he was here for the owners of that property. He was for, and those owners, prior to me giving out any other permits, I could make them fix that,
Yeah.
because they're
No, it
not in
shouldn't affect-
compliance.
It shouldn't affect the storage one.
No,
It should
that-
affect that property.
You know what, though, I looked up the storage lighting, and it's the exact same lighting. So when they do put in that lighting, they either have to have less of them or down,
Well,
straight down.
That submission included the photometrics.
It did, you
So it
did.
was well put together, but the other one, like
They-
I said, they're not level, they're up.
They're
That's
sideways,
so
yeah.
different, but anyways, we'll leave that to you.
So 868 John Stark Highway is, so this, I also discussed, it's not under DCAMP, which it's under HBH properties, which it doesn't matter, it could be under someone's private name. But when the gentleman first came in, he was going to use just parking the trucks on there. And this property, 868, did receive a special exception via our zoning code to be multi-use, because he's in the mixed use, he's in the rural commercial. So with that said, it literally is allowed to be trucking, mixed use, to permit trucking, accessory business, and a residency, which is exactly what's located up there. Now, that structure is actually only like 27 feet tall, which it looks way taller than that, but that's what it says on that sheet. When it comes in, and I've got to figure this out, so it's a little bit, I don't really know how to do this, but this property is not listed as a mixed use. It's listed as a single-family residency. Now, it's in the rural commercial district, but it's not listed as commercial. It's listed, so I don't know if there's a default there. And in theory, when it's a mixed use, even though this thing is 1,800 square feet, someone could just say, well, it's for my residency. And we don't, could say because it's mixed use. I don't believe the structure is for his residency. It wasn't, he didn't say which it was for. But it did get put up as it was under a single-family residency, even though they have a special exception. So with that said, I either have to code these differently to be aware of what's going up, if it really was a commercial structure, which I do believe it is, although I've never asked him. He permitted for it. He doesn't violate any setbacks. He doesn't violate any building code. He doesn't violate any 30% footage of structures. He's nowhere near that. He can have 19,000 on the or more. So I don't really know how the mixed use, because you could say it's either one. You could say this is commercial, or you could say, oh, well, that's part of the home, the residence. And I'm really not sure how to navigate that in, except just take people's word for it. And we don't code for mixed use properties when you look up. So I want to look at both of those.
Well, and that's the Kellyville district you're looking at?
No, he's in the rural commercial district. So
Isn't that where it is? Isn't that the?
Kellyville is K, the K district, which the rural commercial is allowed to have, this is the rural commercial.
Right,
It's
where's the, I don't have my book, the Kellyville one.
You want the Kellyville? They're not in Kellyville though, right?
Oh, this is Kelly.
No, that's
Doesn't it
rural.
go from the bridge all the way to the line?
Let me see.
Which promoted business?
I need a computer in here. I'm gonna have to go look, I'm gonna have to go look that up. I think Kellyville, though, hold on. Kellyville has
I have its descriptor in it.
yes, is the one place that has the, Kellyville is right after the rural commercial. And they're somewhat the same. I think Kellyville is a little more lenient on allowed usages,
So it
but
starts at Barton and Whitney Road and goes westerly along 11103.
this is right after Barton Whitney. Well, Barton Whitney. No, it's
It's
right.
like almost in Claire, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wait, let me go color code the map.
yeah.
Because I've got to go, because this is, it's listed in the RC zone, right here, but let me go get a map if that's coded, oh, we did have a property coded wrong prior.
If it's between Barton, Whitney, and Claremont, then
And it's well within the use in that zone.
Seems to me I recall that the original complaint was something about maybe that the site wasn't set up properly for
Well, yeah,
the
'cause
trucks that are coming in and
they
out.
talked about having I know Dave was talking about having the shared driveway
Mhm.
as the entrance onto Route 11. And the steepness of the hill.
Wonder if she has a site plan for that property.
Probably just attached to that. But I mean, you're putting up big structure, and people are gonna ask questions and stuff.
I mean, as far as, it being like a single residence, it's like, okay, I mean, other than tax-wise, is it a business or is it, a residence?
Well, it really comes under the tax side of things,
Yeah.
because you can have, you can do this
Yeah,
in that zone. Well, I don't think it needed a special exception, that's what I was getting at.
like you say, it's more the tax side of things that I would say as far as, how it's categorized for the property itself.
Well, sounds like she said it was permitted, so.
I didn't hear permitted, well, I didn't hear permitted for that structure. That's the-
Just have to ask that, that's what it sounded like to
That would be
me.
but then there again, that's our issue, it's a permit issue.
Right.
You'd have to come in and file a permit in arrears,
Yeah.
and then that would actually kick the tax process, is what it would do.
Because if you just leave it as is, and it is business use, then any logger can throw up a shed and throw a sawmill in.
The number
Inside.
19 is the house. Kellyville is pink. So it's after
Okay.
Kellyville.
It is after, okay.
So, so,
Christina, was that structure permitted?
yes, absolutely, permitted for everything, but I do think it is a commercial structure. He is allowed to be commercial. He's using it exactly what he got everything for, except I basically missed it, or me and my building inspector missed it going through you if it truly is commercial. And it's hard, I realize, because I'm like, because because it's listed as a single family resident, the use, it really should be land use if you can,
But-
residential / commercial, or mixed use. If you look on property cards.
That's a function of taxes more than what we're.
It's, yeah, but it's listed on all the paperwork that I would look up. Like, or I need to start highlighting somewhere else for my own, I don't,
I-zone?
the I zone?
Yeah, so the special exception was granted, right?
Yes.
So permitted uses in B1, B2, and I.
I is the industrial zone. Do you
Right.
want,
So RC, rural commercial, RC, allows special exceptions. Family daycare, family group daycare, accessory dwelling, and permitted uses in B1, B2, and I.
right,
So if it's
which,
in I, then that's how the
and
special
and
exception.
B1 and B2 are heavy commercial.
Yeah.
So that's
So
where you
that's
get
how
that
it-
trucking, yes, that's how, it's via a special exception,
Hmm.
because it had a house on it. It's very unusual to have a residency in a large trucking company. But the permit,
But that's not unlike, like when we looked at up on East Mountain Road where there were, the well drillers, where they have a house and then they had their shop on the same property in
yes,
the R.
that's in the R zone, and
But pre that zoning. But it's the
Yeah.
same setup, you know.
the trucking's a little more extensive. I mean, the trucking, he's got a lot of trucks. He did also go to DOT, because I hadn't, even though it was already set up for that. I said, you have to go let them know of the road and the in and out, even though prior to him buying it, because he bought it in 20, and the SE was given in 19.
So this,
So he's legal all the way around, but say.
so this is a dry structure, no water, no power, no.
It's heated. Wait, it's not heated. Hold on.
Big open barn, what I could see.
You know what, another thing I thought maybe you could think about when we're redoing things, and it's up to you, but this is an odd structure, and when I first looked at it, a lot of people are like, is that even legal? Now, building code, there's nothing illegal about it. However, you might want to keep these structures not necessarily, you might want to keep something looking like this only in a heavy industrial area.
There's not a lot of difference between this structure and a greenhouse, really. Other
That's
than this
true.
being open, I mean,
Well, it's got he's got 4 huge shipping containers.
that what holds it in place?
That's what it's aimed
Yeah,
at.
like huge, it's anchored down. So again, I'm just thinking it as a suggestion that you
So-
could put this in any rural, well, you could put it on a residential property if you have enough land,
So how did you permit it?
permitted for for the property as single family,
To get a building permit to put it in? I mean, there's no foundation.
there is a foundation, there's a slab. He permitted for that too. There is a slab. He
But
did
the
two.
slab's not, this structure is supported by these Drago boxes,
Must have been engineered somehow.
you know.
He
Like I
has a
said,
slab.
How within the building code
Backyard
did you permit it for a structure?
Well, I could, let me ask Alan for how this
Is it a
meets
temporary
safety
structure?
code.
Is it
No,
a what?
no,
'Cause-
and it has a slab. It does
Yeah,
have
but the
a,
slab is nothing to do with that structure
right,
at all. It's just a fill slab. But you got these drop boxes, Drago box, whatever you want. to
Yep.
call them, are the foundation for this structure.
right, the sidewalls.
So how did you deal with wind, snow?
Well, it
Dead
does
load.
have to meet all those specifications, so
How?
I'll have to
Based-
ask Alan. I
Based
didn't,
on what? Right.
what, I don't do the building code, but it does have to meet,
Right.
by the way, it has to meet 2015 IBC building code. We also might want to think of bringing that up a few years, because I think they're on 2021. And until we vote, just,
That means different things.
yeah, but we could bring it, but let me get Alan specifically how this, because pretend even today, right now, Alan's like, it violates something, a building code, they would have to fix it, even if he missed it. It's not like just because but I don't think it does, so let me get how Alan got all that correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
simple
did-
one would be if
why
you're
did
in,
I-
if his insurance company comes out because the wind blew it over and collapsed on top of five
It's
of
gotta be,
five
yeah.
of his trucks, they would waive off, write off on it because there's no design.
They
Right.
did do a concrete slab, they have a slab, but it is, I do believe this is heated, it says it doesn't have frost walls.
No, but you drive by, it's open-ended, how can it? If he's heating it, he's heating the world.
Right, unless it's like radiant, I guess I was thinking, but right.
Maybe a radiant slab, but
Right.
there again, you're
I
burning
don't think
$100
so.
bills,
Yeah, I know, I don't think so.
you know?
So I don't know, I'm gonna have to ask, right, Alan, how this dome, it meets building code. I'm sure it does, but, and how is it affixed
I'm
to
sure
the
it
containers?
Probably doesn't.
You don't think it does?
Nope.
Yeah, okay, well, let me ask Alan.
It's building code, I don't get to, but from
'Cause,
planning
yeah,
board.
that's not my
From
expert.
planning board, okay, so we're dealing with the use that it's in, we're okay there. Setbacks, right?
Well, everything was done correctly,
Lighting, so-
except you guys probably should have seen it,
Because it's
because
commercial, for sure.
But they could have just said it was residential, and I have to just believe, because of this weird mixed use. But I think they would have brought it here. It just got missed because we have this property coded as a single-family residency. So that's what, and I'm gonna try to, I need to, because I'm gonna see more of these go through, if there's a
Well-
lot of these are out there.
But that's, if it's single-family residency, but they were granted a special exception.
The land use should state differently. The single-family residency land use, so you could be in a heavy industrial area, and if you just have a little house on a property, your land use is single-family residency, you're taxed a lot lower than if you were a Pepsi Cola plant. So they're showing the zone it's in what it's in. But they're saying it's just used as a single-family residency. This
Not anymore.
isn't, it's a mixed use.
Not since this one in, yeah.
And it hasn't gotten, through, and I know we talk to each other because I send all planning board and zoning board approvals and minutes and applications to the assessor. So
Right.
I've
So
got
this might
to,
be Aris didn't catch up yet?
no, this was 2019.
Yeah, so the next assessment. will
Yeah.
catch it.
But let me make sure, let me talk to Alan about the wind, the snow load, the tie downs.
I mean, that's all building code and that's your domain?
Well, it's more, I don't, right, I'm not the expert, I can go out on some,
I mean, again, like I said, I mean, if the wind blew it down and it blew on top of his trucks and he puts an insurance claim in, they're gonna go back and say, well, you gave a permit for it, and it's like, well,
Well, no,
based on what?
it would have to meet, right, if it didn't meet built, well, that's an interesting thing, like the town I live in, I could put in a permit for anything, and they won't check it. So if it then falls over, my insurance just says you're out of luck. But here, we do have that backup. I don't think you can sue the town if we make a mistake,
Well,
but we do.
what if the wind blows it and now hits the storage unit? And
Oh,
once
absolutely,
that's
they
done-
would be liable.
Yeah,
If
so-
their structure goes over and damages, if your property goes on anyone else's property, even if it's, we're having dirt arguments in residencies where someone's dirt is ending up on someone else's property, and I'm getting phone calls, even though that's a civil matter. So, absolutely, so let me get how this meets building code specifically.
I mean,
Well,
even
that's not really
even
our-
outside of that, if they got somebody inside when the thing blows over, you know?
Oh,
Outside
if
of
it-
property and
I don't
insurance.
think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think Alan would have allowed it if it wasn't structurally sound. But I will go look, I know you're an injured, so I'll go look, I just would be shocked.
What's the hold down capacity of a 30-foot Drago box?
I don't know, right, I'm warm, I'm on the other, if I had to do that job, I don't know. But I will get that information for you.
Just a question.
Oh, I know, but that's too high, yeah, it's up here, but I'll find out. Did you really want me to find out what
This
the...
is out of
whole-
your book if you want to put it back.
Yeah, I'll put that back. But I'm gonna look into catching so make sure when mixed use things are done.
I think the safe way is, if you have any question at all, should we see it? The answer is yes.
Well, I thought when you originally look at this, or Alan looks at it, it looks like someone's, although
No,
he knew this property.
I think it has
Well-
less
He knew
to
this
do with,
property.
Like, when that came in to be permitted,
Yeah,
it should be like, wait a minute, should this go to planning board? The
Well-
answer is yes. If you're in doubt, it's always yes.
right, that's true. It didn't cross my mind at the time.
Right.
It came through as a I saw it as a residency, and sometimes we fill out permits so much, we know this property though. I know it, I spoke to the guy many, many times before he even built this, because he wanted to make sure he was doing everything right, and I kept talking to him, you're not building anything, you're not building anything. And then it got by me when he built something like a year later, because it popped up, so it's basically our mistake, but it wouldn't have crossed my mind, because if it's ever a business, I know it has to go to you. I saw it kind of as a single-family residency.
Yeah. But I mean, just in general, I mean, 45 by 60.
I know it's
It's big.
1,800.
I mean, I know people have big personal garages and things.
I know, but that thing's massive.
Yeah.
I know.
And a spring-bound structure.
I know, we should have had it,
Yeah.
But if he
permanent.
came in and she was busy, I can see how, I'm
It
just
got
trying
by.
to build a garage.
Yeah. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
just,
It got-
because, questions that got raised, what is it, why did it get there, blah, blah, blah. It would've been easier to have had said, well, planning board talked about it, and we did a permit, and we're done, that's all.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me get the whole building code with it, but again, yeah, I remember talking about it because of the trucking things being used, because that was an interesting thing. And then I even know this location, but when it was done, I didn't connect the two. But I agree, this is huge, and I guess I really didn't pay attention to the 1,800, because I did all the numbers today to make sure they weren't over, and I'm like, holy crap, this is bigger than a lot of homes.
so to be clear for the audience, this has been permitted 100%.
Absolutely, all permitted, as far as I know, it's all signed off and structurally sound and been inspected. Now, I am going to go double check that and interview Newport's building inspector on how it meets that, and I'll bring that information back, but they are not in violation of anything.
That doesn't really, it's not really our,
They may have been getting a permit, it doesn't mean they're not in violation of it. But,
Well, no, they're not in
building
violation
code.
of, well, we do have,
and
oh,
and
but
to
we have,
correct this statement, this thing is 40 feet wide, or 40 feet long by 68 feet wide. That's a
Okay.
big.
so Alan went and inspected it and signed off on the structure as compliant with 2015 International Business Code. No, I know, you're I know we've got the engineer, so I'm gonna go back and find out how exactly how it meets all code.
Well, there's really only one way that would meet code from my experience, and that's if an engineer signed off
Right.
and stamped the plans for that.
They
Because
did.
that's not a,
I don't have plans.
yeah, you can't,
Besides, those are the stuff I have, and I have for the slab too.
you can't, I can't see how that would fit into the building code. But
Yeah,
that doesn't really.
I would concur vehemently.
Okay, and Alan's also pretty good, just on a side note, we have called in, we've called in the state inspectors on things that were some for the hospital and some for the school. Typically, they've been electrical.
There's
But
no,
I-
there's
State
no
building
state
inspector.
structural inspector, like, building inspector.
Okay, that's true. Well, then I'll go figure it out. I'll go figure it out.
Because the next thing, what happens, he comes in and says, well, I'm gonna take the sprung structure off, I'm gonna add another box on each side and just have 18-foot walls and to get some more overhead.
To just keep piling like Lincoln logs up? I don't know, I'm
Where
gonna
does
let
it
me, now
end?
you're.
So
right.
technically, now looking at this from a planning board thing, we're talking about sheds and different things. Okay, not only you have a garage here, but you got
He has storage units.
sheds, multiple on the same property.
Yes, he does.
So that's in violation of plan.
No, because you can have as many sheds as you want. Or he might be using those as garages, carports. And it's not within the setbacks.
Accessory building,
You're allowed to have your accessory building.
so.
And I think he was using them to I don't know, I don't ask their detail, but I think it was to drive trucks into those things. Maybe that's how it's being held down. I don't know. That was a joke.
Chapter in the code, is that?
That was a joke. That was a joke. Okay, I'm getting off. But that doesn't necessarily mean, I could have made him permit, I guess possibly, if they truly were gonna be individual sheds, for individual sheds, but we permitted as the structure as a whole, and he paid pretty good amount he paid around $500 for the electrical. Well, that's how you base its square footage and stuff.
Right, but the engineering stamp to get that would be.
We're going back to
Couple left
that.
of the
Yes,
code.
I'm going back to that to find out how it meets building code. I'm just saying permitted properly.
Well, to get back to permitted, if this came in from a planning board conversation, that would be where we would go. So, okay, you got X amount of sheds and a garage with no separation, and you already have a house on the property, and how many other sheds are there?
Well, you can have as many, again, you can have as many as you want. Those do not have separation. Although, all you gotta do is not call it a shed, call it a tin box, and you don't need separations. That's with those things. I mean, it's ways of getting around it, but I agree, I agree. So let me,
And then
yeah,
If you got a bunch of tin boxes, then you have a bunch of cars, and then you need something for, basically you're a,
you can
They're a storage
actually,
facility.
on private property, as long as they're licensed, and even if they're other people's, you can have as many cars, boats, or trailers as you want,
I'd like to
as
see them
long as,
I'd like to see them register those boxes.
not the boxes. The boxes are, not the boxes, but the vehicles.
Okay.
I don't know if the fire chief looked at it. He might have. Let me go check that too.
And then your handwritten note says 1,800 square foot carport?
That's what it was permitted for, a carport.
40 by 45?
Is that wrong?
That's what, this says 40 by 45, but it's more like 40 by 69.
Yeah, I've got a 40 by 45.
Yeah, that's,
The containers
1,800
are
square
60.
the
feet.
containers are, the 3 containers plus the width of the thing is 68'3", and it's 40 deep. You're in almost 3,000 feet.
Okay, I was just, right, the carport itself underneath that dome is 18. It's So, but that's still not in violation of structures on the property. Is that what you're, like, there's no code violations. Possibly the only thing I could think is this, the containers being right next to each other. But I don't think that's gonna go to a level of a fire issue.
No, I just get it right so that, I mean, if tax goes in at 1,800, it's different than a tax at 3,000.
That's true, actually. That's true. Let me look at, that's true, it's a lot
And then
more
each-
of structures. And maybe it should be listed as the 1,800 square foot and then utility storage units attached to it, like at that storage facility. So maybe that should be, hold on one second, let me pull that and see how that was, I bet George did put it in that way. A lot larger for tax reasons. But I'll check that too. So building code and then,
And then, if he, I don't know, has Alan been out to inspect the final? I assume he
Yeah.
did.
yeah,
And
he
did it
has.
have power, lighting, power, anything, other amenities that weren't permitted at that point? I mean, that's permitting, but that's you. Or is it just truly a dry storage?
They
facility?
did electrical permit for this property also shortly after the permit for the structure. It says new main pedestal with provisions for future generating and building. So there might be a future building. Truck pedestals for charging. So it looks like they made a
Block heat-
pedestal.
block heaters?
Outdoor plugins.
It's for
Deep block heaters.
okay, so but I'm not showing,
So it is,
It's
it's a
not
full
heat.
commercial setup.
well, this, see, again, within the file, you could have residential stuff and commercial stuff permitted. But I'll check to see if there's lights in there. I would assume there's lights on the structure, right? Or you're,
One would think. But that's how these morph into bigger things.
well, that's, yeah, I agree, and this mixed use is kind of making me nervous, because I really feel it, I'd rather have it listed as heavy like a commercial business, and then I will at least go, oh, there's a residence on there too. Who cares about the residence? Does that make sense? Like, let's get rid of this one family thing and list it as a business, and then no one's gonna kick the house off it.
Right.
It's kind of backwards. So I'm gonna, either that, if I can't change that, I'm gonna have a list of my things that are listed, single-family residency, that have large trucking companies on the property. And I don't know
Or
how many,
just, I mean, doesn't have to be trucking, could be any.
anything,
commercial
but this one's a
attachment
bit,
to it.
yeah, this one, right, anything, it could be anything, but this is a pretty large establishment.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be quasi suspicious of intent on some of these.
I think he's doing exactly what he says he's doing.
I think it's, yeah, I
Yeah,
think he's been
let-
above board. It's just, I guess,
You're
that's
worried
how
about
these
the
things
structure.
morph into, so now, say he sells it, and
Mm-hmm.
it goes off, and then it becomes even more, it gets sold as commercial property, is more grand, and then it just,
Okay, well, with this said
It's
again, I think the structure should have come to see you, and it was missed. So that generator said for future buildings, I am gonna have to tag this so it doesn't get through, because I even broached it with Alan, and Alan goes, well, he permitted for everything. I go, I know he permitted for everything, but I think this structure was for commercial, not for residential. So Alan doing, well, I do a ton of the permits when people come to the window, Alan does a ton too. Like, I wasn't in yesterday, I took the day off. Alan probably spent a lot of his day doing 10 or 12 permits. So I need him to be aware.
can I urge you to just add one question on your
Yes, of
paperwork
course.
for building permits? Like at the top, just say, does this submission have planning board implications?
Absolutely. I
Just so
could
you
try
at
to
least-
highlight,
Click the brain cell and say, does it or doesn't it? And maybe it doesn't, and you just skip right to step 2, but.
Well, we usually do look at land use, because again, it doesn't matter what zone you're in, everyone goes, well, I'm not in the rural, or you could be in any zone and almost have anything, but when if you're in a heavy commercial zone, there's so many homes I just did one today that there's a home where he wants to make an accessory dwelling unit. He's in the B2 zone, down by United. He's just a residence, period. So, well, he says he's in the heavy commercial, just like this one does. This is rural commercial, but he's zoned for single family. He now wants to do like an ADU. So, but he's not, but if he had a huge trucking business on it, I don't think it should say single family.
I mean, it's easy to go down, but it's not so easy
Easy to go, right.
That's-
I would rather have it go the other way. List the
But I would
stronger
just say, if you
one.
had that question there, just so it threw up a light bulb to say, should I be sending this up to planning board to,
Right,
you know,
absolutely. I can put
Is this
it,
business related?
right, anything like
Yeah.
that, just some
yeah.
I mean,
particular.
I mean, it could be somebody that has a fairly large lawn care business or something, that now,
They do have to be permitted, though that is listed as a business.
But it could be somebody that just has multiple toys.
Okay.
That wants a
Right,
big
and then
garage.
and wants a big
It's
garage.
just a garage.
Absolutely,
Okay, it's a garage, permitted as a garage.
absolutely.
But then, like I said, then when it becomes commercial and, you know, and then you get into, because if it was a garage structure, you'd be looking at foundations, would you not?
Well,
So,
he did the slab, but, right, it was a carport. He did you're right, a 3,000-foot carport. It's interesting. I had never, so, okay.
and how many
Okay.
carports have you seen upside down with the wind?
Well, let's open that. I'm gonna go find out.
Okay.
That's why we have a building inspector. So, and then wait, make a large note to commercial use.
Yeah, and if it's commercial, it's a definite.
It goes to you, yeah. And so any mixed use, I really am gonna try to find all mixed use so this doesn't slip through. Get it on the paperwork and then check the permitting. Snow, wind load, yep. And I could check the assessing too.
Okay, moving along. Any other communications to the board? I'm still waiting on Howard's letter on annex and all that. As soon as I get it,
Yes.
I'll circulate that.
And we're gonna discuss, like,
That'll be-
I could have people, I'm kind of holding off, because we have that lot line adjustment paperwork that we could use, and we could wean ourselves off that word, even if it says it on, but you guys have to do the policy, redo that,
I think one of the biggest things we were missing was the survey. And not, the language doesn't always say the survey must be included
with lot line adjustment.
with, yeah. So that's a piece that's key to that conversation. And this one was there and he'd done,
I thought all lot line adjustments had to have a survey, it just wasn't a full one.
no, it wasn't that clear. That's a piece that needs to get looked at from my seat anyways, to put it all together. But I would like to get this thing from Howard because he was doing some
Okay.
research. and-
Well, if you do a lot line adjustment without a survey, it cannot be submitted to Sullivan County Record of Deeds, which means your lot line never changes.
So, you know, that statement right there is enough to say it has to be
It
in our
has to.
zoning rule that way.
Yeah, it has to be, because even though you don't have to have that full boundary survey, they have to put the pins in for it has to be submitted with the Mylar and everything. Even with just a lot line, even if you own both of them, you're changing the shape of each. If we don't have a survey for a lot line adjustment, I cannot take the Mylar to them, and so we could write up whatever we want, but it'll never show legally.
Right. So, you know, we just need to follow that in our rules so that it gets done that way and.
Absolutely. It should be considered just like a subdivision or an annexation, just we're using a different word, and the only difference between a subdivision and a lot line is what you start with, you end with. And a subdivision is what you start with, you don't end with. It's different. You start with however many, and you end with more. With a lot line,
Yet an annexation is an addition to.
Well, and it's the same though, you start with 2, you end with 2. Or 3,
Yeah.
or,
Anyways,
no, I know, I think we should get rid
We've
of,
been kicking this one a while.
I think we should get rid of one of the words. We should either stick with annexation or move to lot line adjustment. Because they're virtually the same.
I think we go to lot line.
I think so too.
Because annex doesn't exist, we've proven it.
No, and you can't even find good definitions, they're all,
Right, so just go to lot line adjustment and have categories and move on from there.
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm holding off because I could have, when people come in, fill out that paperwork instead, which
So
I,
that's the next meeting, so hopefully we, right? we're
the
meeting
next
on
meeting was the master
master plan.
plan meeting, we thought we could cut off first. And the annexations or lot line adjustments, for the most part, are some of our simplest things. Let's just, I think it makes, whatever, it's up to you guys. But that's one of our more simple things. The master plan, I switched it to May 3rd because there were like 3 people that couldn't make May 29th. I know that you're always up in the air. And then I thought, could anyone make May 3rd? Were people able to make May 3rd?
That was better for me.
Yeah. And Ray, no.
Don't see a reason I wouldn't. but-
I'm not sure right now, it's probably.
Right,
Sounds
you're
like-
always, I know, obviously, and I figure though, these are gonna be, to get through there's gonna be quite a few of
I
them.
would rather do lot line stuff first before I
First.
did master plan myself. Because
Then-
master plan, we're actually waiting for input based on the last meeting. You were gonna go out to,
I did, they're attending, they're gonna run the
Oh, they're gonna
meeting,
be
they're
active.
they're gonna come
Oh,
either
okay.
via Zoom or here, but I can tell them not to.
no,
And
if
they're-
that's all set up, stay with it.
Yeah, I asked
That's a full
Vicki
meeting.
Davis, would they assist us through the process? Do they have outlines? She didn't really say they had outlines. I thought, like, she could give us cheat sheets to follow. But she said they will assist and come to the meetings and assist us through through the whole process. And they might have a lot of good things, too, of how times have changed that we could consider. You don't have to change that, just considerations.
So we could do the lot line stuff on the 17th meeting. A normal meeting.
Next month, how many cases do I have? You know what, I don't know if I have any planning
don't have
board
any,
cases,
that's
so
the
let's
ideal.
do that. I don't
Just
think,
get it
as of
done.
yet, the deadline is, I think, next week, next Tuesday. So we could but even if we get one in, we could move to that.
Okay.
Okay, let me make a note of that too, because I don't think we have any as of right now.
But just because we keep getting these things, it'd be nice to
Yeah.
put this to bed.
Well,
I know.
To be honest, I think we've kicked it so many times that I don't think it'll take us long to make that decision. I think we've all pretty well decided where we stand. Yep.
Okay. Any opening to the public? Any public comment? Speakers? Seeing none? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that.
Unless, well, before we do, any other business from the board? Seeing none?
Well,
Oh.
Christina, you mentioned one of my neighbors is the person that you were talking about with the dirt
Yes.
going down the road.
Yes.
So according to, what is your stance on, so there was a new house built on Balsam Road and there's some runoff happening because their yard isn't grown in yet,
Established,
yeah.
You have established. So, anything on your property has to stay on your property. So you could pretend you have invisible walls, even if I don't think they can go up that high because now we can have drones that fall, but whatever, if pretend it goes up to the sky. Or 40, 50 feet. You cannot let anything on yours fall into anyone else's. If it does, you have to pick up said stuff and put it back on yours. So, like, if my garbage can tipped over, on which has happened, and blew, I go over and I'm raking because I'm like, oh my God, my garbage can tipped over last night. That's with everything. If your carport flies up and takes their chimney down, and let's hope that's all it doesn't harm anyone. And that obviously is insurance, if you have it properly insured, God forbid something dangerous. But if any dirt or debris, from your property, any land from your property, especially if it's in large amounts, goes on someone else's property, it's your responsibility to mitigate that. And that, first of all, that's civil,
So is this a new build?
a new home.
Yeah, when you're
So if it
building,
was a permanent new home,
It's a permanent new home.
that would fall under, at least first, building permit, because you.
She's properly permitted all the
Temporary
way.
controls,
She's properly permitted.
but within properly permitted it is, you have to do the temporary controls to contain silt, debris. blah, blah,
Absolutely.
blah.
And if they didn't do that, that would be,
Then the owner / the builder would have to fix that.
absolutely are liable if that happened. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's that simple.
From what I heard, they believed it was gonna happen. And when I first spoke to them, I thought it happened. I kept trying to, it did happen. And then
Oh,
they
yeah.
said it hasn't happened yet. We think it's gonna happen.
No.
And I said, I can't go after someone that nothing's happened.
It doesn't, so there's a little washout that's happened, but if,
And
you know,
it's on, it went from, and it's easy to tell, but it's on their grass. Like, even if it covers a 10-foot, that's a lot of grass to replace. You know, this,
I don't know how much, but.
It is.
So basically, it is covered under the building process.
Right.
That you guys can tell the owner, your yard is washing away.
You
It needs to
can,
be-
you can
it's
hold up
really-
a final occupancy
we
permit.
could hold
for
it, it's
that.
been, right, it's been done already, the occupancy permit. Really, it's a civil matter. Because someone could dig up a yard, regrass 10 years from now, and before the grass comes in, it all washes, and it has not, it's really civil.
Well, that would be civil, but the the fact that the permit was open and it happened. you
It's
can
already
hold-
been closed.
It was closed? So then it
Everything's
becomes
already
a
been
civil.
closed.
Then it is a civil.
And they should have had some fencing up and stuff. I actually,
Some silt fence?
yeah.
Well, that's supposed to stay, usually the engineer said that's gotta be there until initial growth, you know, so.
Or you would just think logically, especially if you're on a higher plateau. Right, but it really is civil. We did it a couple years ago to them. I guess the Public Works flushed water and they ended up with tons of dirt. And they told me that they had we had 3 people out there working for 10 hours. So that's how you mitigate it.
Well, I know the building permit's closed, but if there was a problem with the building process,
It's not, that's a civil matter.
well, if there was a problem with the building itself, like say something happened to it that wasn't built to code, the building process wasn't followed,
That has
You guys
nothing to
can
do with
still-
their neighbor, though.
you guys can still go back and say, hey, we know we closed the building permit, but this was incorrect, you need to correct it. Same goes for the site. If the site is incorrect, you can go back to the owner, even if you closed the building permit.
We don't really have site permits.
I know you don't have site permits, but it's part of the building process.
Right, we do not oversee land when it rains that runs into someone else's land. There is contingencies for this at the state level.
Well, if someone excavated a bunch of dirt out of the ground to build a house and they just plopped it somewhere and it starts
It's civil.
washing out.
It's civil, you're responsible for your own. Civil matter.
If you issue a building permit with disturbed earth, driveway, foundation, whatever it is, that permit should contain temporary controls, requirements to prevent those kind of things.
We don't have,
Silt fence,
The
what
building-
I'm saying is, we should have.
we
I
don't.
believe the IBC.
The building code even stipulates for demolition that you have to grade the property. You can't just leave an open hole in the
Right.
ground. This is very similar.
Right. All I'm saying is that when you get a permit here, we permit for everything and then we come out and inspect. But if during that process, you do something, if I said illegal or even by mistake, that harms another resident, it really has nothing to do with us. It becomes a civil matter. We could hold the permit open. We could state that they had to halt services. we could not give them a CO, we could stop inspecting other things, but really that's a civil matter. It's not a building matter. It's just like if you were building a house and you're putting the roofing on and someone doesn't do it correctly and the roof breaks off and blows onto the other thing. It has nothing to do with us permitting for a roofing, but you better hope your roofer's insured.
But if the roof is washing into the road, into the ditches and stuff, you're gonna tell the owner that they need to deal with it.
That would be public works if it's in the road,
Most-
and we've had that done before.
A lot of municipalities in their building permits have temporary controls requirements.
Oh, well,
It should be there.
there was on Spring Street a driveway that washed into Spring Street all the time, and they started billing him, and he finally did get it fixed, and he was billed for it. So if it's in the road, it's public works, and if it's from neighbor to neighbor, it's civil. I can look into writing stricter building permits. I still don't know if it's still civil if during the process they violate some
It can be-
accident
It can
happens.
become civil if,
It would be civil,
you
the
know,
whole
if a
thing.
neighbor goes back to the other neighbor and says, hey, your builder, because of the foundation, we got water, rain on my lawn, fix it. Right? If they do it, then it's fine.
Oh, absolutely.
If they don't do it, and then you ask
It's-
again,
It's a civil, right.
okay,
it's-
now I gotta call the police, it's a civil matter.
Well, it wouldn't even be,
Right.
typically, it's not even police, but, right, it
Well,
would
it
be.
has to be, you can't
Well,
enforce
that's
civil,
true.
the police have to enforce civil. So, like I said, up until the point where neighbors are nice, and then we're not nice, then
You're
that's my
right.
leverage.
You're right. If I broke my neighbor's window and I just said, screw it, my kids threw the ball through it, I'm not gonna pay for it, they would have to sue me for that. If I just pay for it, it's all fixed. Again, it has nothing to do with our department. And that's why you hire insured contractors, insured licensed people, and at any time, anyone's land can wash out and ruin someone
Right,
else's.
but under building permit, if there's a permit pulled, you know, a temporary, if you're disturbing, you're putting a septic in,
You're absolutely
you're putting a
right.
foundation in, you can ask for a temporary controls permit.
We don't,
to-
we don't have any, we don't have any permitting for controls of it.
So there's no control of the site whatsoever when someone builds a house. You build the house outside of the foundation walls, there's no,
Right.
there's nothing.
We don't have anything in Newport that, unless it's wetlands, I oversee, or rivers, or we go into the controlling of the wells and the septics.
Oops.
I just took that off, so
So-
it wasn't anywhere.
Like I work in the town of Hanover. Anytime we do a building on campus or in Hanover, you are required to submit a logistics plan showing temporary controls, temporary measures, where's the job office gonna be, you know, the temporary
Right.
site ups, where's the toilets gonna
Is
be?
this for
Where's trucking,
residential?
residential or commercial?
We don't have that, yeah, we don't have anything like that here,
So-
and the control, again, when someone's building something, whether it's you yourself building your home, which a lot of people are doing, or you're having a contractor do it, you are liable for injuring anyone else that's either comes on your property or anyone else's property in that process, period. But it is not a town of Newport. Now, if we saw something that they were in violation,
And how can you enforce it?
I would say that there's.
we don't. It's a civil matter.
I know for sure that there's a lot of grading requirements in the residential code, the residential building code. There are site requirements in the residential building code, so it might be in there.
It's in there.
That's,
You
and
have,
We just have to take a look.
you have the right to ask for it. Whether we do or not is a different conversation, but if somebody's submitting the uphill building site and say, hey, this is gonna create a potential impact down the
Down the
road.
road.
You could say, please give me a stormwater maintenance plan or a
Or just
silt
make
fence
sure your
or
yard's not
whatever,
gonna
so that
wash
it's
out.
dealt with. You could insist upon that before they get a permit.
I know we've asked before about runoff, different things that have come in here.
that's commercial.
Right. I mean, commercial, they're hiring an engineer.
Right,
and you get
residential, right, we
silt
don't have
fence and
that.
you get all that by
Yeah.
default, but
We also have the driveways looked at for that and how they affect That's all scrutinized and how they affect the roads. The land itself, again, while it's probably very small percentage, but no, we at least don't have anything in place now, and it might be very difficult to just logistically enforce. Well, it
IBC
would be time constraints. You have,
Paragraph 3 says
you
the
have,
AHJ
you
can
have,
basically ask for
you have
whatever they
one
want.
person that works 14 hours a week and one person that works 30.
I don't.
It would be
I-
virtually.
You're preaching
yeah.
to the choir in that conversation.
I know.
But
So that's what I mean,
just saying, you
logistically.
can ask for it.
Right, and it would almost be, so even if we ask for it and they violate it, we have no fines associated with that.
No,
It
but
would
you can
become
hold
a civil
up,
matter.
you can hold up the permit and or
Process.
inspections until it's addressed.
Absolutely. And I've never had an issue, I've never heard of this, not that people, I have heard of issues, people calling me, that people working on their land after a home's been built like 20 years ago, and what they're doing is affecting now their property. I do hear that a lot, but it was someone they built, this is the first, now I only have like 2.5 years here, the first where it's been a brand new house that has gone down into, well, when I spoke to them, they said it hadn't happened yet to me, because
All you have to do is drive up there and you can see where the yard is washed out, it's gone into the ditch.
oh, so it's gone into the ditch, not their property.
I haven't looked at the whole
Well,
property.
Yeah.
you can't do anything based on what ifs, right? It might, it maybe, you can't.
No, I
work
said
on
I
it.
can't do that,
When
yeah.
it does happen, then yes, you can go out and say.
No, I wouldn't go out, it would be
Or
civil.
whatever, you can deal with that.
And who knows, the person that built the house might just say, I'm gonna fix it, it's not a
I
big
think,
deal.
I think so too.
Like you
I
said,
had-
if the neighbors don't like each other, something's gonna happen regardless, okay? So, one
Right,
other neighbor might go over and say, hey, can you clean it up?
right, that's what I call it, I said, this
So-
is a civil matter.
Yeah.
I said, if it's in the road, that's a public works matter. And my building inspector did go out last Friday, this was, I will say. And he went and looked at it, he thought the contractor was coming back to possibly mitigate it.
Probably.
I don't know when you saw this, but I even spoke
I
to.
drive up there every day.
I even spoke to them, got an email as early as today, and I just got a thank you from the husband about, I made a comment, if you do have any issues moving forward, let me know. And he said nothing but thank you. Because I didn't hear there were any issues.
I don't know. It just seemed
It might be
reasonable to
something
ask.
they're seeing as a possibility, and it hasn't gotten to the point where they're gonna actually complain. But they might have just been asking you, to know.
I think they were worried about it from how I spoke to them yesterday, because it took me a while, I thought it had happened. And then I found out that nothing had happened yet, but they were worried it was gonna happen. I said, I can't.
Well, I mean, the
Yeah.
other side is I urge you to put like logistics plan requirement or something like that in there, because the days of neighbor helping neighbor or just being plain civil.
Right.
I kind
But
of-
it is, us
Far
overseeing, it's a slippery slope for me to oversee civil matters. I just think,
No, but it didn't even have to become, like you said, if you're pulling a building permit, say you're gonna put a foundation in. Oh, ding, 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 they're moving dirt. What are you doing for sediment control?
I guess,
It's a very easy question. Say,
Yeah.
okay, I'll put silt fence up here, here, and here, and deal with it.
possibly, yes. Let me look into it. I mean, I have a hard time, I don't want, that's probably the wrong word, but babysitting. I mean, people know on private property, if you damage anyone else's property with your, this is 101 house owning. And so I guess I'm having a hard time with that, and I think this is so rare. However, there are homes that go up very close to someone else. And me even saying silk fencing, okay, put it up and then never put it up, we might even miss that. Or that we never saw it, you know what I mean? Because it is their responsibility, but we don't inspect for that. So let me look a little into it. I will say we're just maybe having a manpower, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, and it might exceed this. It's actually making me a little nervous, because I told Alan and I, we have to be on the ball this year.
Well,
2
it
years
is-
ago, we had 5 new houses. Last year, we had 15. We're plus 30 this year. I even said to Alan, I don't know how we will inspect these.
Many of these things get, like a town like Hanover gets these rules and their processes because history and or
Well,
Lot more
Hanover
money,
has,
lot more- it's
Hanover has
different.
a building and zoning department that has 10 people
right,
in
but they
it.
also have residents that are pretty astute that
Right, so
know how to
every,
push the buttons. and-
everyone has to be responsible for their own land. And again, what I'm truly saying is I am concerned this year about the amount of staffing we have. And I also work nights. My hours are even at these board meetings. And we have a building inspector that only works 12 hours a week. And I've even discussed this. I said, I don't know how we can keep up with these inspections. Or yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a concern. The bottom line is though, whatever work is ever being done on your house from the start to 100 years from now, if you harm anyone else's property, you're liable, whether you've permitted for it or not. And but let me ask Alan about getting people, making sure people are aware. Again, a lot of times people are building in the middle of nowhere, or the properties are bigger. You know, you have 1 acre, and it's flatter maybe, but let me look into that too. Let me write that down or I won't remember.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Herb, you're so talkative. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll give it to Herb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are done.